Robinson Crusoe. This is the second part, which you may choose to read. Robinson Crusoe has been shipwrecked on a desert island and has lived alone for many years. One day he finds footprints in the sand and realizes that his island has been visited. Later he sees a group of natives chasing two others across a river. I observed that the two that swam were more than twice as long swimming across the river as the fellow that fled from them. It came now very warmly upon my thoughts that now was the time to get myself a servant, and perhaps a companion or assistant, and that I was called by Providence to save this poor creature's life. I immediately ran down the ladder and fetched my two guns, and getting up again with the same haste to the top of the hill, I crossed toward the sea, and, taking a short cut, I placed myself in the way between the pursuers and the pursued. I slowly advanced towards the two that followed, and rushing at once upon the first, I knocked him down with the butt of my rifle. I did not want to fire, or the rest would hear. The other who pursued him had a bow and arrow, and was fitting it to shoot at me. So I was then necessitated to shoot him first, which I did, and killed him with the first shot. The poor savage who fled had stopped, and was so frightened with the fire and noise of my rifle that he stood completely still. I shouted to him and made signs to him to come forward, which he easily understood, and came a little way, then stopped again, and I could see that he stood trembling, as if he had been taken prisoner, and was to be killed, as his two enemies had been. I beckoned to him to come to me again, and gave him all the signs of encouragement that I could think of, and he came nearer and nearer, kneeling down every 10 or 12 steps in token of acknowledgment for my saving his life. I smiled at him and looked pleasantly and beckoned to him to come still nearer. At last he came close to me, and then he kneeled down again, and laid his head upon the ground, and placed my foot upon his head. This, it seems, was in token of swearing to be my slave forever. I made him stand up and encouraged him all I could. He then spoke some words to me, and though I could not understand them, they were pleasant to hear, for they were the first sounds of man's voice I had heard for many than 25 years. Part 2. But there was no time for such reflections now. The savage who was knocked down recovered himself enough to sit up. My savage, as I call him now, made a sign to me to lend him my sword. As soon as he had it, he ran to his enemy, and at one blow cut off his head. When he had done this, he came laughing to me and laid down the sword and the head of the savage in front of me. He lay himself down again upon the ground, and set my foot upon his head as before, and made to me all the signs of subjection and servitude imaginable, to let me know he would serve me as long as he lived. I let him know, as I was very pleased with him. In a little time I began to speak to him, and teach him to speak to me. And first I made him know his name should be Friday, which was the day I saved his life. I also taught him to say master, and let him know that was to be my name. Then I taught him to say yes and no, and to know the meaning of them. I gave him milk in an earthen pot, and let him see me drink it before him. I stayed there with him all night, but soon it was day, and I beckoned to him to come with me, and let him know I would give him some clothes, on which he seemed very glad, for he was completely naked. As we went by the place where he had buried the two men, he pointed exactly to the place, and showed me the marks that he had made to find them again, making signs to me that we should dig them up again and eat them. At this I appeared very angry, expressed my disgust, and made as I would vomit at the thought of it, and beckoned with my hand to him to come away, which he did immediately with great submission. First reaction. What is your first reaction to this extract? Describe its tone. Did you find it humorous or serious? Explain. 2. What would you do if you were shipwrecked on a desert island? What would you miss most from home? What do you think you would like the least about being alone in an island? Discuss in small group and write notes. Detailed questions. Part 1, page 40, line 1, page 41, line 7. 1. What does Crusoe mean when he says, "I was called by Providence"? Page 40, line 4. 2. Why did Crusoe shoot the first native? 3. Why did he shoot the second man? 4. How did the man being chased react to Crusoe's intervention? Part 2, page 41, line 8 to end of the text. 5. What did the savage do with Crusoe's sword? 6. But there was no time for such reflections now. Page 41, line 8. Explain what Crusoe means here. Word list. Shipwrecked, desert. Capture, imagination, universal, myth, man's, ability, survive, companionship, author, final, attempt, fortune, inventor, spy, venture, fail, bankrupt, imprisoned, death, turn, novel, fiction, founder. Recent, research, rebellion, punishment. The Caribbean, rescue, skill, gain, experience, convince, autobiography, partly recount. Colloquial, impression, authenticity, reality. Eyewitness account, the Great Plague. Bubonic, devastate, pseudo, confession, X, contribution, entertainment. Rifle, bow, arrow, fit, necessitate, savage, sign, tremble, prisoner, beckon, encouragement, in token, acknowledgement. Pleasantly, kneel down, encourage, recover, at one blow, subjection, servitude, imaginable, burthen, worry, disgust, vomit, submission.